and do register now. You know we have a limited access here, right? So, okay, let's start today. Selfies allowed, absolutely. So keep taking selfies with our speakers, tag them on social media, tag us on social media, and you can win exciting prizes. We have been getting a lot of creative videos. People are like, I think, loving it, and they're showing their creativity. So India is actually showing their creativity now by hashtag creative me. So let's continue with today's session. Here we have amazing chat show today on future of 2D animation in India in association with Toon Boom. As I said, Toon Boom is an award-winning software that is global standard for animation and storyboarding, with the mission to build innovative software solutions that provide powerful storyboarding and animation capabilities and streamline the production process for artists, studios, and students. From major animation companies to small scale studios, Toon Boom has customer base and they use their software to produce movies, TV shows, games, advertisements, and yes, nowadays OOH, out of home, and the Netflix and your Amazon Prime as well. Toon Boom softwares have been leading their way. It's the industry standard for creating award-winning animation. If you can imagine it, I think Toon Boom tools will help you make it. So with us from Toon Boom, we have Mr. Prem Mozares. He is heading India from the side of Toon Boom, and he has experience of over 30 years. I welcome you, Prem sir.
Thank you.
I think I've mentioned correctly about Toon Boom. There's a lot to talk about Toon Boom.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So today's chat show will be handed over to you. And anything for me, you can let me know. Everybody will be taking selfies and they'll be tagging Media and Entertainment Skills Council and Vidyadaan. So let's start with today's session.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pooja. Much appreciated about the nice and gracious things that you mentioned about Toon Boom. Appreciated that. But more, this session is more about the participants that are here. All of us know them by name and know the kind of programs that they do. My background, of course, is been in the 2D, 3D compositing, editing time for quite some time. I really don't want to talk much about that because this is mainly to do with the 2D animation. 2D animation has come a long way. Most of us know only the traditional one, which is the art form, which is drawing and doing the processes based on
Yes.
drawing. Technology has improved tremendously, and a lot of our tools help the artists from the artistic perspective, which is very, very important. And most people think that as things develop, you're only looking at the technical aspect of things, but we kind of miss out on the creative aspect. And that is why I'm very happy that you guys, MESC, has actually looked at this session in a very positive manner to take it further. Appreciated, tremendously appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let us actually get on to the participants. I think so. Most people who are
Sure.
present here want to really hear about each and every person. And
Yes.
honestly, to tell you very, very honestly, a person like me cannot justify any one of them by telling what they can do it better themselves, because
Right.
there are a
Exactly.
lot of instances that we will miss out on, small nuances like a person's background as to how they must have come out from a deep crisis scenario, how they must have managed to do some very basic things in a very innovative way. So I would like to start one by one, from Mr. Jayakumar, to really talk about Toons and how he has taken it further.
Sure.
Chair sir, if you can please both introduce yourself, your background. As I said, it is huge by itself, but it will be very appreciated if you can tell your background, because the people who on this show will be people who probably are coming from either an other industry or will be students who will not really know that. So welcome to the show, and please, sir, give a little brief background about yourself.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Prem. Thank you very much for inviting me. Guys, one interesting aspect is, I'm not an animator by myself. My background is I'm a chartered accountant by profession. My background is I was working with one of the government organizations in Kerala. Our organization, our Toons Animation, was set up in Kerala to start with in 1999. So I was working with the government, and then I met with the gentleman, the entrepreneur who basically wanted to set up the animation studio, and I joined as the CFO of the company. This was 21 years back, and so we had an American CEO and a team of international experts to help him in terms of establishing the studio. In 2003, we did a little bit of a restructuring here, and then I taken over as the CEO of the company. But my background is not as an animator or any kind of creative field, more on the business side. Thank you, Prem.
My muting and unmuting bad habits. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Jayakumar. And appreciated what you mentioned. And that gives a unique perspective to most of us who are coming from fields which is different from animation. So we will be talking more on the business aspect and things like that as well. Okay, thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Vikas Kumar, please request you to share something about you and your company, DigiToons.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and hope you all are good during this COVID breakout situation and keeping you all safe and healthy. I myself commerce graduate from Delhi University, and I did a diploma in multimedia from Arena Multimedia, and then I joined CNBC Television as a graphic designer. Post that, I joined Education Department, Delhi government, and worked over there more than 5 years. And this is a story of 2003, and that time in the whole education system where studying through a normal plain textbook, and then we formed a project, an organization called CalToons that was funded by UNICEF, UE Mission, and Ernst & Young Foundation, where we created the entire content into the animation digital format and implemented in more than 1,000 schools of Delhi government. And for that, I have been awarded by Prime Minister of India and continuously 4 years from Chief Minister then Sheila Dikshit from Delhi government. And then I started DigiToons in 2009, and this is formed by me and my classmate Nadeem. That time we were just 4 people, started from flat, and right now from my flat, right now we are located in 3 locations, and including Delhi, Calcutta, and US. We are about 400 artist team, and working mainly on overseas project as a service and co-production, some IPs. So yeah, so this is all about DigiToons. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Vikas. And Anish, can you share with regards to you? I know you have had a few things which you would like to talk about, mainly in the ups and downs, but that we'll cover later. We might as well get at least idea about your company as well. Anish?
Yeah, thanks, Prem. So my background actually starts from live action. I went to film school in the US, and then when I came back, I was working as a creative director and writer for live action TV shows and films. And back in 2013, actually, right when we were writing live action, I also actually started writing for animation. And in fact, we started out writing for Toons actually for some of their shows early on. This was back in 2008, 2009. And in 2013, we set up a small studio, and we got a show greenlit called Choti Anandi. So that was a show that kind of gave me like a experience in writing as well as show running. And that's when we set up Toon Boom, and we started taking up a lot of projects from outside of India as well. And 7 years since, we are still, doing the same thing, trying to produce more shows, writing more shows, creating more shows, and growing with the industry. So that's a brief background for me.
That's super. So we at least have we have artists as well. So that's a nice thing. We'll give a different perspective between business and the artist thing. Thank you very much, Anish. Mr. Rahul Bakshi. So Rahul, if you can share about yourself and Phoebus, please.
Yeah, I mean, Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Prem, for inviting us. Um, Typically, about me, I'm an engineer actually. By basically, I'm not an artist as Jay Kumar sir is also a business guy. I'm also a business person. So typically, I started this as an entrepreneurial kind of a scenario of doing IPs. At that point in time, it was stated that anyone doing IPs will not survive, and most of the companies in India do services kind of business. So we've been doing IPs from 2004. We've released a movie in 2008 called Dasha Avatar. We've been doing shows with Cartoon Network, Disney, and all these guys way before all this IP wave started in India. Uh, Currently, we are doing international shows. We've shifted to Harmony. We're essentially a 2D studio, okay, and we stick and we are going to stick to 2D, okay, because we believe in 2D. So, and so that's a short thing. It's definitely, we have about a team of 80 artists. We've not grown to be as big as other studios, but we definitely have those 80 artists who we get from nearby towns and places from Pune. So we actually look at growing our studio in that respect rather than having a huge, humongous kind of scenario of vendor management and all, which is a bit too difficult for people like us. All right.
Cool. Thanks, Rahul, for this introduction. Very useful. But stay on, since you mentioned that point about you liking to be in 2D. What is your real take on the animation industry from a 2D perspective? I know has ups and downs. You have had your own ups and downs. But it will be helpful for others, especially the people who will be on this call, is that should they put a foot into getting into this line, because well, it is a creative field, accepted, but the amount of information that is out there, even from my perspective, I also see that the amount of information currently available is very limited when you look at it from a student's perspective. When you look at it from an artist's perspective, they know where to go, so they know where to talk. But from students' perspective, they are a little skeptical about the creative fields, right? From whether it is to be animation, whether 2D or 3D, or even to come into the post production like VFX and all that, they always a little skeptical. So how are you viewing the current scenario of the 2D animation from a perspective, from that side of it, from the students side of it? Is it a step that one can really and seriously look at?
Uh, to be honest, Prem, currently, there's a lot of requirement for people who are into 2D. All right. Unfortunately, a lot of us have a lot of productions going on in terms of 2D animation. And I've heard these stories way before that 2D is going to die and 3D is the next big thing. But 2D has always survived all those things, and 2D will be there. The whole perspective given to the students and people who want to get into animation and 2D animation, uh, before getting into any 3D or something, you really need to do something in 2D. You need to plan, you need to do things. So 2D is an important step towards going to 3D. I know existing firms in India itself who are doing a lot of service work for outside. They are 3D firms, but they definitely have training in 2D before they get on to 3D. So if you look at things, the I'm looking at in terms of commercials. No channel or no possible people all across the world can only have 3D animation going. They have to have a mix of 2D and 3D happening together to make it economical for the content to work. So 2D is going to remain. All right. Only perspective is that the training is missing in 2D. I have seen a lot of these institutions which do not basically teach 2D animation as it was taught before. All right. Exception can be Toons because they definitely have, they can be an exception. Currently, what is happening is most of the studios are training their own resources and trying to get them into this field. So there is definitely a gap in terms of actual training of 2D animation. But 2D is here to stay. And I prefer, I mean, this is my view, being in this field for such a long time. I feel all those people need to have some basic skills of drawing before they try to do 2D animation. Because I feel the software is just going to help them do things. It's not going to do drawing for them.
Yeah, we'll come to that part. I was more focusing on how we talk to the students. Since you mentioned that Jaya is doing something on the right path, sorry, Mr. Jaya Kumar is
Yes.
doing something on the right path. So probably you'd like to chip in into what Mr. Raul Bakshi said on the way that the students can look at this industry.
Right. So Prem, I think, I mean, first of all, I believe the future of 2D animation is very bright. Okay. And this is because the demand for content is on the rise. And so is the need for trained 2D artists as well. I would say two or three important considerations. One, demand for 2D animated program is at an all-time high. With Netflix and Amazon are committing billions of dollars for animated content, and plus new OTT platforms are popping up all around the world. So I believe the demand for the 2D animated program is at a high stage. Even in the very specific situation of post-COVID, what we are seeing, and I have been constantly talking to our customers in India, what is happening is that obviously all of these broadcasters and everyone is going to be get affected because of the advertisement, less and less number of advertisement during the period, and they are all going to probably cut their budgets, right? When you really cut the budgets, the 3D animation is going to suffer. I mean, I'm talking about just India from a broadcast perspective, because it will be very, very difficult for them to kind of spend money on expensive 3D productions. But at the same time, they need to still produce content because their audience are there. So I believe for a short term in India also, the demand for 2D animated program is at a very high. The second one is the because of this 2D softwares, softwares like ToonBoom Harmony, Storyboard Pro, they all simulate working on paper. You can do all the things you can do on paper, but better. So I mean, so this is an important thing because this software offers artists unlimited creativity, and I think that is one. And then the third one is learning 2D is easier than ever right now, because there are a lot of kind of tutorials, and even ToonBoom has just started an online kind of training program. I agree with Rahul. I think even if you finally wanted to go into CGI animation, because Indians generally have particular affinity towards computer kind of oriented jobs. So even if you wanted to get into CGI animation at some point in time, I would suggest that you start working as a 2D animator, because then you will be able to understand the principles and basics of animation. We have a school, Prem, as you know, Toons Academy. What we do is, even for CGI animators, for initial 2 months, we will not allow them to touch the computer. We basically ask them to go through the principles of animation, because that is the most critical thing. Softwares you will be able to teach, but principles you need to imbibe. You basically need to get into it and you need to practice it. So I think so even if you wanted to get into 3D industry later, I think your starting point could be 2D animation.
Thank you, Mr. Jayakumar. Thank you very much. This gives a nice perspective on a lot of things. Anish, would you also please chip in on your feedback on the same, mainly from a perspective of how you have managed keeping some of your staff and training, because I know you have spent a lot of time making sure that you have trained, and there are come some people in your team which are really sought after, really from having a very good background in terms of dealing with the entire pipeline and all that. So how did you manage to really take the steps forward along these lines?
Yeah, so Prem, to kind of reiterate what's already been said, training, is key. But I think there is a distinction in terms of technical training, software training, and actual drawing skills. So in 2D drawing skills, are really important. Like what the software actually allows you to do is, in a way, it's giving you tools to kind of automate things, make it a little faster, do things that traditionally you wouldn't be able to do by hand or would take a long time. But you still have to fall back on those skills. So learning the software and teaching the software to our teams has not been the difficult part. It's been challenging to get the right kind of artists who are trained in animation, because I think for a country as large as ours, although there are very good institutes, there aren't enough, I would say. And the thing that I have seen over the years is that sometimes when artists who might be good, like who pick up software fast, but they might think that they're not very good in drawing or in kind of traditional paper pencil thing, because they've not done it. But I have noticed that if you do kind of practice, if you do work given the hours, have the right kind of training, even that can be learned. It is not like sometimes we sort of tell our kids or something that, hey, you can't draw, don't, that's it, that's the end of the line, try and do something else. But I think that is also a skill that can be trained and can be learned. Of course, it needs that hours that you need to put in. And right now with tools available online, with tutorials on YouTube and things like that, if you are just starting out, you can actually, in fact, if you are interested in doing even CG, you really need to get the basics. Like Jaya sir said, don't even touch the computer for 2-3 months, get those skills down.
Skills done.
And to get that is the key. So that's what I have noticed. And that's where I think even it's not just about institutes, it's even our primary education, where we need to focus on starting early, giving kids this skill, and also showing them possibilities of this turning into a career, so that we don't lose out on a lot of kids who are very good at drawing, but then they just don't see it as a viable option and might take up something else. So
Okay. Cool. Thanks very much, Anish. Really, that insight was very useful. Mr. Vikas Kumar, so I would like you to again mention some of the challenges that you would have had on the similar lines, because you do have both 2D as well as 3D in your setup. I'm pretty sure that you would have a little bit different opinion maybe on it, and how do you take things forward further?
Uh, Actually, originally Digitoon is a pure 2D animation studio. We are still majority we have is a 2D animation, 2D animation capacity. However, we have a step into the for the CG project as well. As far as artistic challenges is concerned, definitely India is still lacking from good animation institutions. But these days, when we are talking about Digitoon, we got some. We are maybe I can say we are slightly lucky that we got a tie-up with a very close tie-up with a few universities like Chitkara University, Chandigarh universities, in a Meerut, Punjab. These are the areas where we have made a tie-up with the universities, and we are focusing with the students. We are visiting. We are visiting to them in they have a 4 or 6 semester. So what we do, like when they complete, students complete 3 semester, 4 semester, our production head, senior animators, they used to visit the university, conduct over their workshop, and until then the students are already at certain levels. So when they come into our organization, we know what are the capability and capacity of those artists. As far as drawing skill is concerned, this is a very basic and preliminary things which need to be followed for the 2D animator, 3D animator. I think from my point of view, there's only one word: animators. That can be 2D animator as well and can be 3D animators as well. As all of the panelists also has focused on that side, that artist has to be skilled with the drawing skills. And there is a very bright future of the 2D animation, and we are seeing that growth. We never lack from the work, especially in the 2D side. And we are one of the studio who is a big fan of ToonBoom Harmony, and we have give up on a flash side quite well, as other studio too. So I think there is a combined, I can say there's a huge scope of work for 2D animators. There's a lot of project is coming before COVID, and post COVID is going to be a lot, I'm sure. So yeah.
Yes, hold on if you don't mind for a
Yeah, yeah,
moment.
sure.
The thing is that you just touched on a very nice point with regards to students, that you really are going to schools and colleges. I want to talk a question a little bit different because we are in the cities. Most of us are in the cities, whether it is Chennai, in Trivandrum, or Delhi, Bombay, Pune. These are the main cities. Now, there are a lot of people who, when we were into conversation one-on-one about a month ago, you were mentioning about how a lot of remote levels schools also are trying to adopt that. So, would you touch base on how we can do something, or how we can get them to really touch base with us for that kind of either knowledge, training, things like that?
I think the bigger platform we have is the Media Skill Council. They have a tons of students in the remote area. For example, if you talk about Haryana, Haryana, we know about Chandigarh or some few major cities. But if you
True.
talk about district like Jind, if you talk about this district like more deeper into the Karnal side and into the Uttarakhand, we talk about Nainital. But you go into the more deeper side, there are small institute, and they are trying to adopt new technology. So we are making tie up with those. We have make up tie up in Odisha, we have make up tie up in Bihar, Bengal. So because we got a studio in Delhi and Calcutta, and we need artists everywhere. So what exactly is that? Because first they are while they are coming from a small cities, they are hesitating to contact bigger player, they are hesitating to come into the more bigger streamline. So it's us who need to reach out them to make them understand that what are the scope of work and what are the future of this platform and how we can do. In fact, we have tried reaching out to them, training in every month at least 4 to 5 institutes we are calling them in our studio and training to their faculties that how to teach ToonBoom and how to teach other application which we are using in our studio. And a lot of faculty is coming to our. In fact, we have a very close tie-up with EPTech here in north side, and they are also sending their faculty to our studios. We are training them, we are giving them training, and we need to sometime they, because they are a small studio, they run out about the cash flow, they run out about the expenses, that if they are coming with 10 students from Nainital, they are going to spend some expenses, they are going to spend some money. We also participated into that one side ticket we can fund them, so you can come, because we are really seriously looking for a good talent 2D animator. Sometime after doing this much of effort, out of 30 students we get 3 or we get 0, but sometime we get 10, we can get 12, 14. So all after all this effort, and I'm proudly I can say there are a lot of shows we have done in 2019-20, including Rick and Morty season 4, Ninja Turtle, Lego project, then Doctor Who we are working, and all of them, Monkey Kids we are working with Lego, and all of these kind of projects are being done by those talent which is into the remote area. And Media Skill Council like Arpanes can confirm you that how much we have given the employment to them. We are reaching out like in a remote to remote areas where there is a lack of electricity, internet issues, but even then we are conducting there with a projector, with everything we are trying to reach out, and we can bring the students. Our focus is that to, if out of 100 if we can get one artist, that is our great success of recruitment side or spending time on that.
Cool. So thank you very much, Mr. Vikas Kumar. That was really good. Mr. Rahul Bakshi, if you can also put in this, because I know we have had this chat on, especially that you get people from inner Maharashtra and things like that. Would you have a challenge on the same level, or would you also be following the
So
same
we,
path?
we definitely do have challenges of getting good people to animate and do animation. Uh, because as you know that this industry, I mean, the amount of content needed is huge. So the amount of people who are going to create content is going to be huge too. The bigger problem, as I said, we have a different strategy. I mean, as what Vikas is saying, yes. If I look at the art schools within Pune, most of these students from the art schools, I am saying fine art schools, all right. So these people generally want to go on to IT sector. They want to go into UX UI design and stuff like that. So and very few people want to draw. all right, in a city like Pune. And same is the case maybe in Mumbai, because there are a lot of options for them. So we typically get back to smaller towns. We get back to Kolhapur. There are approximately 100 plus art schools across Maharashtra. All right.
Yeah.
So, and they have the base skills. They have the skills of at least, the composition or whatever they have been taught. They know how to draw. Okay. So we like to collect people from there. So what happens is the dropout rates from there is a little bit lower. Okay. I won't say that people, not every artist can be converted to get into animation, but generally I have seen, and it's my experience over 18 odd years, uh, the art school people generally adapt faster.
Okay.
And training of software, digital software training can be given to them. Any typical studio can offer training in terms of learning softwares, but the base skill of drawing is very difficult,
True.
very difficult to do. So that's the scenario.
Yeah. Okay. And of course, Mr. Jayakumar, in the South, you would have the challenges mainly to do with language. So the same question, but in a little probably different, because generally north of Maharashtra, more often than not, uh, English, Hindi is kind of fine. But once we start going more towards Hyderabad and more towards the south, then language comes very much upfront. I'm not saying it's not there in the other parts of the country, but definitely much more. Yeah, sorry, Rahul, you wanted to continue on that point?
Yeah.
Language and communication is a problem in Maharashtra too.
Okay, but I think that the challenge more often is in the south, especially.
I'm
I think, I mean, you are absolutely right. I think one rule which we have done, from day one is that we made it the language, even at the studio and even for our animation school, both the medium of teaching is English. Because what these guys are going to do is, most of the work we are doing is international work. So these people need to be able to communicate to the Western directors. So if you are basically talking about your local language, then your ability to grow would be contained in a big way. So from day one, we basically made this rule that, I mean, all kind of teaching medium or any kind of medium of communication within the studio is English. Our academy also conduct courses in English. So that way we are very clear. Of course, people talk in Malayalam because that is their native language. But medium of teaching, we made it as English, because not only just to ensure that it is easier for the people, but also to make sure that they also improve on their communication. You need to be a good animator, because in animation, this is the most collaborative business in the world. One episode, we are basically talking about 400 shots, all done by different people. And if they don't communicate to each other, how do you basically, make sure that the continuity is happening? So this is the most critical thing. And since you are talking about the academy and the, going into rural and all, Prem, I think, you remember we were, there is a company in Bangalore called Native Puppets.
Yes.
They are into Anand Bade, and they are
Yes.
into online training programs. So we just, kind of collaborated with them. So I think, within the next 30 to 45 days, we will be launching our online academy. It will be a global academy, but we will be probably going with English speaking territories. But this is, slightly different from platforms like Udemy, where, it is not just, recorded things. This is also will be one-to-one teaching as well. So this way, I think, because this is all emanated just because of the sudden COVID situation. The government asked us to shut down all the education institutions, and they're all at their home. So we started, kind of these online courses to them. Then I thought this is actually a very, very good way for us to, kind of taking this art form and this teaching to the remotest parts of the world. So I think that is something we are doing that. But for us, luckily, in 2002 itself, when we set up the studio, there were very limited players, and we brought in a lot of people from overseas to train our local animators. So what happened is, during the initial days, we became a perfect poaching ground for any studio to open their studios, because it's the only place where you get experienced people. Right today, you walk to any studios in the country, you will see most of the senior people are, have some kind of a stint with Toons. So we realized that at that particular point in time, we started our academy. After we starting our academy, at least on getting entry level people, we never had a problem, because we train around 200, 300 students a year, and then we will. This is also a great opportunity for us to also absorb the cream of the people to our fold.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Jayakumar. Anish, what is your take on the same? Also, I would like to add in one more query along with it. The part is that I know you have a setup in Hyderabad, you're also in Bombay, and you do have a lot of local people who are attending it, means jobs in Hyderabad. One of the challenges I think so all also have is this kind of thought gap between what is the kind of monies that one can get whilst we are doing that. So even when you're in the remote places looking at people, they're also looking at a job perspective. So it would be good if you can just bind in that as well. Anish?
So yeah, like you rightly said, we have a setup in Hyderabad as well as in Mumbai. So in Mumbai, mostly we have our writing and pre-production staff, and Hyderabad is where we do our entire production for our shows. In terms of production, like everyone's been saying that we are going through this kind of a golden age where we are seeing more and more productions. But I also feel that at the same time, there are more productions internationally, there are more productions even in India, but in both cases, the work that comes to India, our budgets year on year don't seem to be increasing at the same pace as our let's say cost. So like you put in training requires time and effort. By the time the juniors are trained and they get to a certain level, they you go through that process. So what I feel is that that is a challenge that we are facing with, in terms of like we are not moving as fast in terms of the budget size of our shows as compared to the kind of content we need to create, which also is an opportunity in a way, because we need to think out of the box. Like, how can we, like, of course we have to keep, as a studio, we have to keep a fresh batch of juniors who are learning fast enough and coming up. At the same time, we hold on to the seniors who can actually do move up in terms of what they've been doing, from animators to show directors to being able to train other kids. In the traditional sense, like, I guess because in India our industry is not as old as in some other countries, we've not had that wave of traditional studios who were only training traditional artists. So we didn't have a large pool. Of course, a Toons was there, or some other larger one or two studios may have been there, but that ecosystem we kind of missed out on. And now we have an ecosystem where most of the studios are digital 2D studios. So that's the challenge, and that's the opportunity. How do we kind of recruit people, keep our costs low, at the same time hopefully our budgets increase, and the ecosystem grows overall. I don't know if I answered your question,
No, no,
but
it is. The thing is that this is an open part. It's our opinion
right.
so that everybody else gets an idea on it. So if anybody else also wants to pitch in and has a different thought, it's quite open. Like, the idea is that we all talk and say what we have so others get a real informed. I mean, all the guys on the panel, all of you individually have spent a lot of time. And this amount of time that we have on this panel session will be far too less to be able to tell each and everything that the person wants. But when we share our thoughts and a person says, okay, this is what the thought of a person which is in this organization has been there for so many years, is his thoughts. So it makes a lot of difference to get it from a person who's really informed. So anybody wants to pitch into some more, you can always pitch in. It's not only that I have to ask the question and you respond. If there's something that you want to pitch in, you're always most welcome on it. Okay, thanks very much, Anisha. I appreciate it.
In fact, Prem, I
Yes,
wanted to ask a question if
sure,
that's
sure,
possible.
good.
It's open to everybody. The interesting thing is that, before this entire COVID thing happened, mostly writers and artists had sort of started working from home. They were working from studios, but you could sort of give out work to freelancers. Not so much for animators, because animators mostly, just like, uh, they have mostly worked out of studios, and there is a lot of communication between them needed as well. So they were all kind of under one roof. But now we have sort of been forced to do a work from home. So the question would be that how does everyone see that evolving in the future? Because of course it's brought a lot of challenges with that too. Mainly it's the communication and the less connectivity in sort of uh, you know all parts of India. So like file
Okay.
transfers and things like that.
Yeah. Mr. Jayakumar, would you want
Yeah,
like to weigh in on
yeah, yeah.
this?
No, I think, one fantastic thing is that, we never thought such a working model is possible in the past, right? Now, we are working with several studios, and all the studios are delivering, and they are all working from, studios in Calcutta, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and almost all those studios are, artists are working from home, and they are delivering. That means the model is working. The only question is the efficiency, whether it is 100% or 70% or whatever, right? So I think the answer is it definitely works. It is working. And the second thing is that is this in my opinion, actually we were actually talking that this is a really great opportunity for us to really think about, having a large set of freelance people working for you at your homes. The only thing which you need to be careful is about, do you have the infrastructure and technical background and the processes in which you will be able to kind of do this things effectively. So I will tell you our example. When we really start, when the lockdown happened on March 23rd, and all the initial couple of weeks has been very tough. I mean, we were finding out, and more of the issue was, a lot of people are coming from suburbs. They don't have broadband connectivity. There are infrastructure issues also. But then over a period of time, I think, we are basically now getting into 80-90% of efficiency. So if we more, innovate more, if we really do a little bit more research, and if we fine tune this working model, I believe this working model would be a great learning and positive things from this COVID situation as far as I am concerned.
Okay. That's, I think so, some part of it that we can really take away is good, especially with this COVID scenario. Vikas or Rahul, would you want to chip in or to help Anish on this?
I had a different take and challenge out here.
Okay.
We shifted to Harmony maybe a year and a half back. So we do not. I mean, we are essentially a Flash studio. So we are very comfortable when it was Flash. The work could have been spread around, and you could have got the efficiency. People could have worked from home. The challenges we had as a Harmony studio, because some of the artists were pretty new to Harmony. Certain guys were pretty, 1.5 year experienced in Harmony. The challenge for us was, because people were not working together, it really affected our outputs.
Okay.
It terribly affected our outputs. I mean, at that point of time, I was thinking of, I wish I had a Flash show. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I guess that I think so we'll have to take more offline for
But
me to kind of resolve your
no, but
problem.
So it is not about the software.
No,
Okay.
I know that. I'm just
It's not
saying.
about the software. It's about we not knowing the technology well. All right. After, I think we've had calls with ToonBoom. We know exactly how it should be done.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, we have not found time to get back to office because of the lockdown. And Pune being in the red zone, it becomes even more difficult to do this. So I think once this whole thing goes off, and we are going to be prepared technologically after this to, it's good that we face problem right now, then to again face a problem again. So we
Yeah,
face. Now we'll
Yeah.
find a solution to it.
Yeah, not to have interrupted you, but I think so. The point that even I feel, and something that I've been evaluating, and even ToonBoom as well. Not only ToonBoom, I think so. All the companies, whether it's software or right across the board, not just animation software, is that how do we work if we have to keep all these rules in place, which is currently there? Because a scenario like this, if that continues for a longer time, we need to see of how we can move forward with it. And one of the things that has helped me is actually trying and seeing the software, how it can do things. And I've been interacting with fair bit of friends, and they just ask very simple things. One of the queries was like, how do I, knowing Flash, how do I move to Harmony, the shortcuts, whether I can get the shortcuts, how do I do just a sort of frame, or be able to see onion skin based on particular parameters rather than the standard one. Now, what happens is it is there as a part of the software, but for a person who's already into production, they may feel a challenge. However, we'll keep the session a little light because most of the students
Yeah,
will
okay.
feel this is getting a far too technical conversation and will say like, this is worrisome really. So let us get back to, knowing more what we can really do. There are some questions which are coming up, and most people are still into the thing that, they like to do 2D animation, and they want to really get into 2D animation. I know you all already covered up the part that we need to do the drawings and things like that way. But is there some other ways that they can probably do some stuff on their own in the current scenario? Because current scenario, I know there are a lot of online trainings and all that, but maybe some other takeaways that they can have as to how they can really see and enjoy themselves in the 2D spectrum of things, and take things in a better way. Mr. Vikas Kumar, can you share something like this way of your experience where you have had, maybe students at a much lower level, not necessarily going to be employed in the next 1 or 2 years, but just get a taste of what 2D is like, and enjoy with it. Any thoughts on that, sir?
Before going on that, I would like to add one more point. 2D animation and 3D animation for institute is definitely a product. A product. These days, every institute sells 3D a lot, and they don't sell 2D the much they sell 3D, because they are getting more money, they are getting more revenue. So it's a very challenging for the studio. So all the institutes need to adopt a fair deal with 2D and 3D. So 2D can be produced, 2D students can be produced more, because even with the small studio, small institutes, if you will go there to enroll the course, and if you talk about 2D much, they don't have much answer. But if you talk about 3D, they can explain you and talk to you in hours and hours and hours. And they don't even analyze, the industry, the scope of work, the growth, how much growth they have in a 3D in a job. As per my perception, it might be possible I'm wrong. Even if you need 2D animators, 2D animators, you need 100 2D animators in India. I think you need, I don't know, 100 HR to find 2D animators. This is just, but if you need a 3D animators, I think an assistant HR can find it, can get you 100 3D animators. And if you talk about the quality of the animators, even for the 3D, I think they are just producing the students. They are just producing the students. Still, half of the institute, they don't know about ToonBoom Harmony. They don't know the great shows has been produced in the ToonBoom Harmony, or in the Flash, or TV Paint, or Moho software, all of the. So I think all the institutes need to adopt a fair deal between 2D animation and 3D animators. At the same time, they need to generate the revenue targets, everything I can understand. As far as the students is concerned, everyone, all the panelists has focused, and this is a basic principle, that it doesn't matter that which software it's okay if you don't know the software. We as a Digitoon, we have hired at least hundreds of artists who does not know the software, because still there is no premium institute in India who is promptly teaching ToonBoom Harmony to the students. Still they are on the Flash side. So hardly there could be few. Maybe my information is wrong, but there are hardly few. But we have hired them just because of their drawing. So if their drawing book is full, we are very happy to hire them. I can tell you that, if a 2D animator coming on and he or she knows the Harmony software, we are hesitating to offer any salary package. But if we know his 2D drawing skill is good, we never hesitate to offer whatever amount he needs. So it's 2D and animation industry is all about drawing skill. No matter whether you are going in 3D, 2D, clay, whatever you want to go, you need to be good in a drawing school with your drawing book. This is the basic principle I would like to give. Even if you don't know the drawing, just make a scribble, just make a pencil scribble on your page. I think once your hand is warm up, maybe after those scribble, you are able to make an elephant or Ganesha, something like that, So this is the key thing I can tell you for the 2D animators if you want to be 2D animators.
That is actually a fantastic thought that you gave, and this is something I've been really encouraging few of the people in my family, mainly because of the clamp down, not more about what things they do. Most of us as children are always used to doing some amount of doodlings and things like that. And unfortunately, over time, we have let go a lot of this stuff. And I do feel is that people who are wanting to really hone into their skills can actually make something that they enjoy doing a proper career. That would be great.
I just want to add one line. There are a lot of questions is asking, is there any mentor? I think, guys, we have a great mentor, and I would like to give them a name, Mr. YouTube. Mr. YouTube is a great mentor. My 7-year, 8-year old son, he is making Japanese character with the help of YouTube only. So I think we have a great mentor, great teacher, YouTube, how to drawing, how to become a 2D animator. These are the subject can be easily find out on the YouTube, and it's a free, they don't charge anything. So, if you will find any mentor, maybe he can charge you 100 rupees or 200 or 500 per hour, something like that. But here you get everything free of cost.
Prem, also to add to that, I think now, you see so much good art on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. There is so much work out there that when you're starting out, you can get overwhelmed, but you have to understand that it will take a lot of time. It will take a lot of effort. So you have to put in that effort. Like Vikas said, scribble till you get that perfect circle. Then you move on. Then you go to body proportions. Then you go to movement. It is not going to come overnight. And the art that you see on the best pages that you like, they have not done it overnight. So they have put in the effort. So that's where passion comes in. And it is something that you can learn. So do not get discouraged if the first time you draw and it's not great. Don't just drop it. Put in a half hour, 1 hour every day. But don't just do like 3 hours one day and then just quit.
Yes.
So
just to add to this, Prem, just to add to what Anish has said, like I had mentioned this to you, I think, on a conversation. I met one person in Pune who actually told me one thing, and which is actually stuck in my head. If art was inborn kind of scenario, then we need not have art schools, So my whole point is that we need to practice drawing. Okay. Once you practice drawing, you can make it. Okay. And I was not, actually knowing what he was saying, because, I generally used to take people from art school. He has converted certain non-artists, the people who have just crossed 12th standard, 6 months drawing better than the artists who have come from art school. Okay. So it's been answered. It is firstly getting the skill of drawing, then becomes an artist. Okay. So it is better to understand how to do the skills, basically. Understand the skills. That is what is important for animation. It doesn't have to be a portrait artist or something to get into animation or something. He needs to know how he basically can split or look things in shapes and convert those shapes into movements, after that.
Yeah.
So,
basically, yeah. Sorry, Rahul, please continue.
Yeah, no, Mr. Jayakumar, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So no, I'm not an artist, so probably I'm not an authorized person to tell this, but at least based on my experience, okay, in addition to the drawing skills are, especially in the 2D animation, it's important, but it is also important to have acting skills and observation. See, who is an animator? Animator is actually an actor, right? So if you really take the analogy of a theater, the live actors are basically acting. Here, you're basically, an animator is basically making a character act. So in our studio, if you really go to each an animator, there is a mirror in front of every animator. and then he basically need to emote. So one of the things which we do for all animators is the acting classes,
Very
right? So they basically understand and they emote, and those emotions and those nuances is what he is translating it into paper or tablet or whatever. So that skill is important. Another thing we do is also observation. We do sketchings. We take the kids to zoo. We take the kids to beach. So that they basically observe and then they basically do that. So all of these things. So it's not just drawing skill. It's a combination of kind of various skills need to come in. And I think you definitely need a mentor or a coach. And I'm pretty sure that in every city, every place, there are people. Animation today is not a brand new industry. I'm sure that there are people who are experienced in anywhere. You need to find that at least to start with, you don't need a very experienced guy. You can basically go to guys who understand the basic. Once you attain a stage, then you can find your mentors over a period of time. But I agree. I think you can definitely learn a lot of things from YouTube and all. But it is just not just this. If you have a drawing skill, that doesn't mean that you can become a great animator. You need other skills as well.
Yes, I think so. What all of you all have answered a question where Santoshi Guruji, Guruju, sorry, what is that? Do we need a BFA, MFA certificate to become a 2D animator or concept
Oh,
artist?
no, no.
And all, I think so. You all have answered the exact question, which is there that the skills and how you observe when you do things. Certificate is important when you just want to show that you know it, but your knowledge, at least in most of the studios, to the
I,
best of my knowledge, is
If you
whether
have
you really know the skills.
Yeah, if you have the basics, if you are already an MFA, BFA artist, then I think you at least know the basics. So that will accelerate your growth.
Okay.
yeah, and as you mentioned, PJ Kumar, here in a north side, Media Skill Council is really working very aggressively and trying to reach those kind of students, those kind of family who they are quite poor and not into the mainstream,
Yeah.
going into the deep villages and trying to pick those kind of students. And we are having those kind of students in our studio, and they are working so hard. And this is the only one organization I have seen who they are very aggressive towards and passionate to adopt ToonBoom Harmony. And they have reached out, Mohit Soni, they have contacted me, and now they have made a deal with ToonBoom Harmony to implement everywhere into this one. So I think, and there are few universities here, including Punjab, Chitkara University is one of the great infrastructure they have. I have been there many times. I am on their academic board as well. They have a great dean. Their dean Vineet Raj Kapoor is one of the fantastic person and passionate about this animation industry. So these guys are doing really great. As you mentioned about the certificate and all, yeah, certificate definitely accelerate to your career growth, but for become 2D animator, you are just fine with the
Yeah,
normal skills. Yeah.
I agree.
That's good. Thank you very much, Mr. Vikas Kumar. There's one person who is mentioning that they have the skills, but doesn't really have the certificate and is self-confident about it. I think so. It's Mr. Akshat Srivastava, who just says, "I'm confident about my drawing skills. I'm confident that my drawing skills are excellent, and I work daily to improve them as well. So how can I get a job?" And I don't think so. That's a very conclusive way of getting things. But
I think here three companies here you can reach out to any.
superb.
Just Google their website and send their resume.
Yeah, exactly. Good, good.
So my advice is, I think he has basic drawing skills. Maybe it's a good idea for him to properly get into an animation course and take that basic course, and then he will be able to find a job.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. I know we have a lot of questions still pending, but we have basically been allotted a time. So I thank you all who are present over here. I will get Pooja to get back in to just say thank you. But before we end, definitely note to each and every one of you, really appreciate all of you coming on board and sharing your thoughts. Tomorrow we are doing a little technical session and day after as well for people who want to get an idea about how they work in harmony. It's not going to be like the latest features and all that, but at least one will get a good idea about how you can do it. Since the perspective sometimes is that it's very technical and a little difficult to do, you'll have already answered a lot of the questions that it's more what to do with creativity, regardless of the tools. But sometimes people are kind of averse towards learning something new, and that would really help them. So appreciate each and every one of you. And Pooja, I think so it's time for you to do the sign off. Thank you once again, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Much, everyone. I'm like, it was a treat to watch and hear from everybody. Like industry leaders talking about the future in India of 2D animation was a treat to watch. And like Prem sir also mentioned, there are so many questions lined up, but as we are falling short of time, we might not be able to answer all the questions. So guys, what you can do, you can share your questions, your queries to vidyadaan@mescindia.org, and we will try to answer most of your questions. And if it is for someone specific, like I have seen few questions for Vikas sir, few for Rahul sir, so you can mention that, maybe we'll reach them and get your answers.
Sure.
Also, I hope you all have taken your selfies with all the industry leaders. So do post them on social media, tag Media and Entertainment Skills Council and Vidyadaan, and you never know, you can win exciting prizes as well. Yesterday, sir, we had a 2-day workshop by Dan Smith, and people cherished it. Like I've seen so many videos of non-dancers now trying their steps. So we had many videos, and we are working to find out the winner for Creative Me. Till then, we have a winner for our selfie contest. It's Hitesh Venkataraman from Hyderabad. So I think we must congratulate him.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes. And before we proceed to the end, I'd like to mention that tomorrow and day after tomorrow, Toon Boom is coming up with a workshop on animation by Mr. Stephen O'Keefe. He's a senior solution specialist at Toon Boom Animation, and he's passionate about improving the animation industry altogether across the globe. And he wants to share his knowledge, and that's why he's coming on Vidyadaan now to share his knowledge and wisdom. So we all are excited to learn, and even the non-experts, I'll say, people from new fields can also come and join in. So Premji, would you like to mention what software or what link they need to go and install the software to be prepared for tomorrow?
Yeah. Thanks, Pooja. It's relatively simple. You can just go to toonboom.com and go into the product section, and you can download the software from there. It's better to download the complete one, which is Harmony Premium, so that you can get to see all the features. The idea is that when you download, you get a 23-day license. It's not really a license, it's a trial license, you would say. So for 23 days it works free, and you can try, and each and every feature works fantastically well. The idea is when Stephen O'Keefe comes tomorrow, he's going to take you through a few of the features which are already in existing for some time, and how it has been developed, and working a little good over multiple versions. So the idea here is to give a taste of what you can easily do by just downloading the software and trying based on the assets that are there. So it will be relatively simple. It will not be very complicated. It is to give an idea to all the animators how easy it is to work in Harmony. And of course, we will be taking queries at that point in time as well, to be able to address whoever has any queries on that. If it can be addressed at that very moment, of course, we will do that. So head on to ToonBoom and go into the product page and download the software and be ready for tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes. So everybody go to ToonBoom and go to the products page and download Harmony app for tomorrow software and be ready. You are now going to the animation industry, which is the most promising industry. Yeah, I think anything can go down, but even when it's lockdown and it's the GDP is going down, animation, VFX, they are all going up.
Very true, very true.
So it's a very, very, I'll say a safe sailing boat that we are riding on. So let's meet tomorrow and do share your feedback on vidyadaan@mescindia.org. Be ready for tomorrow with the software installed. We'll see you tomorrow, sharp 11:30. Anything, any questions, you have the number, you can email us, you can WhatsApp us. All right? And guys, there will be a lot to learn tomorrow. And not to forget, after these 2 days of animation, we'll have music. Music by True School of Music, Mumbai, will be on 30th and 31st, and a mega dance session by Mr. Ashley Lobo. Mr. Ashley Lobo is known to everyone in the country, I think. And of course, our honorable chairman is coming on Sunday, May 31st, 5:30 p.m. Book your calendar, don't miss out. He's also a treat to watch. All right, I'll say with this, I'll take your leave. Thank you so much, everybody, for sparing your time. Thank you, and see you all tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Bye.